Have you ever walked into a room full of people, smiling, laughing, chatting, and suddenly felt like you didn't belong? Not because they were unkind, not because anything was wrong, but because something inside you had shifted? If that moment stirs something in you, you're not alone. I'm Mary, and I'm 74. I used to thrive on company. Church potlucks, family barbecues, coffee with neighbors. I was always the one who kept the conversations alive. But over the years, I started pulling back. At first, I thought I was just tired. Then I wondered if something was wrong with me. Why didn't I want to go to the group lunches anymore? Why did I feel so relieved when plans were canceled? I used to force myself to go. Smile, nod, make small talk. But afterward, I'd come home feeling more drained than fulfilled. It wasn't until I had a quiet evening with just myself, a hot mug of tea, and no pressure to talk, that I realized maybe what I needed wasn't more people. Maybe what I needed was peace. If that sounds familiar to you, this video is for you. You're not strange. You're not broken. And you're definitely not alone. Today, I want to walk with you through 6 deeply human, psychological reasons many of us start avoiding people as we grow older, and why, despite what the world might say, this isn't a sign of decline. It's a sign of clarity, of healing, of self-respect. Some of these reasons may surprise you. Some may feel like they were pulled directly from your own life. Either way, by the end of this video, you might look at your quieter, more selective life not with guilt, but with grace. Comment 1 below if any part of this intro resonates with you, and if you're still figuring it out, comment 0 so we know you're watching and reflecting. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, take a second to do so and hit the bell icon. We're building a space here where seniors like us can feel heard, seen, and supported. And don't leave early. The last reason we'll talk about is the one most seniors experience, but hardly anyone ever talks about out loud. Let's begin. Number 1. The burden of past betrayals. Let me tell you a story. There was a time when I used to open my door and my heart so easily. I trusted freely. I believed the best in people. I gave second chances like candy. But something changes after you've been alive long enough. Something in you starts keeping count, not out of bitterness, but out of protection. Think of Clara, an 82-year-old woman I met at a church support group. Her living room used to be a lively place, Sunday dinners with 10 chairs around the table, laughter echoing into the hallway. But now, just one chair sits by the window, a book beside it. Silence. What changed? Not one big betrayal, not one storm, just a slow weathering of a heart. Friends who faded away, family who made promises and forgot, a neighbor she confided in who turned her pain into gossip. Clara didn't slam the door shut on the world. She just started locking it more often. And maybe you felt the same. You reach a point in life where every time someone breaks your trust, it doesn't just hurt. It reopens every little wound you thought had already healed. A friend's broken word reminds you of a sibling who disappeared when you needed them most. An unreturned phone call echoes like the silence of a friend you used to talk to every day. With age, your heart doesn't harden. It remembers. And in remembering, it learns not everyone has earned the right to sit at your table. This isn't resentment. This is wisdom. It's the protective instinct of someone who has given love freely and learned, sometimes painfully, that not all love is returned. Psychologists call it relational fatigue. It's when maintaining connections begins to feel like emotional labor instead of joy. And for many older adults, especially those who've endured emotional wounds, this fatigue is real. You might notice you're slower to call someone back. You pause before saying yes to plans. You look at an incoming text and think, do I really want to get into that right now? That's not coldness. That's discernment. That's a quiet shield built not from hate, but from heartache. If you've ever felt this way, comment number 2 below. Your story matters, even if others haven't taken the time to understand it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, take a moment now. We're not just sharing tips, we're building a place where feelings like these are finally acknowledged. When you start choosing peace over performance, solitude over surface-level smiles, it doesn't mean you've given up on people. It means you've learned to guard your most valuable gift, your energy. And trust me, At this point in life, your energy is sacred. Number 2, the longing for peace over idle chatter. When you're younger, silence can feel like an awkward space you rush to fill. But as you grow older, silence becomes something else entirely, something sacred. There's a man named Walter, 77 years old, who used to be the life of every gathering. Former insurance agent. Always had a story. Always had a joke. His voice used to carry across dinner tables and backyard barbecues like it had a purpose to fulfill, to keep things lively, to fill the air. These days, you'll find Walter at home most evenings. A warm cup of coffee. A crossword puzzle. No TV. No phone calls. No noise. Not because he's lonely, but because he's finally at peace. I spent 50 years talking to be heard, he once told me. Now I only speak when I have something that matters to say. And that's the quiet shift no one warns you about. In your younger years, you put up with conversations that skimmed the surface. Gossip, complaints, chatter about the weather. You tolerated it because you were raised to be polite, or maybe because that's all anyone seemed to offer. But now you feel it in your bones when a conversation lacks meaning. The noise doesn't just bounce off you, it drains you. You start skipping events where you'll have to explain yourself for the 10th time. You no longer feel compelled to be on all the time. You no longer pretend that being surrounded by people automatically equals connection. This isn't about disliking people. It's about loving peace more. It's about realizing that your emotional energy isn't infinite, that you only have so much to give in a day, and you'd rather spend it on something real, something nourishing, than stretch it thin trying to keep up appearances. Walter told me something once that stuck with me. If a conversation doesn't leave you feeling seen, what's the point of having it? And he's right, because at some point we stop needing to impress. We stop feeling the pressure to fill every moment with sound. And we start craving stillness, not because we're retreating, but because we're finally hearing ourselves. In this quiet, you may find that a single heartfelt exchange brings you more comfort than 3 hours of empty words. That a silent walk with your thoughts is more refreshing than a crowded party. If you've ever turned down a social event just to protect your peace, comment number 3 below. You're not strange. You're just tuned into something deeper. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Because the next reason, what happens when you realize the world doesn't see you the same anymore, is something that hits even harder. Let's continue. Number 3, the sense that people don't get you anymore. There comes a strange moment in later life when you're sitting with people you love, your children, your grandkids, maybe even old friends, and you realize you feel completely out of place. Not because they're rude, not because they've done anything wrong, but because you're no longer seen the way you used to be. You share a memory from your past, how you balanced a job, raised a family, took care of your aging parents. They nod, smile politely, and go back to their phones. You offer advice, something born from decades of mistakes and growth. They thank you, but you can tell they've already made up their minds. It's subtle, not rejection, not cruelty, just invisibility. That's what happened to Ella, 79, a retired teacher with 5 children and a life full of stories. She once loved big family dinners, telling tales about how she got through tough winters with nothing but ration food and determination. Her grandchildren used to sit wide-eyed, soaking it in. Now, they scroll. They laugh at inside jokes she doesn't understand. They listen, but not really. They hear me, she told me, but they don't see me anymore. That kind of disconnection doesn't happen all at once. It builds quietly. And over time, you begin to hold back. You begin to say less. You begin to question whether sharing even matters anymore. This isn't just about age. It's about a shift in culture, in pace, in values. Suddenly, you feel like you're speaking a different language. One built on reflection, patience, and earned wisdom, while the world races by emojis and algorithms. And when you try to bridge that gap, you often find yourself misunderstood, or worse, dismissed. Psychologists call this emotional invalidation, when your thoughts and feelings are brushed aside, not out of malice, but out of indifference or distraction. It's one of the quietest forms of loneliness. being surrounded by people, yet feeling completely unseen. And so, you begin to retreat. Not because you've lost the ability to connect, but because you've outgrown shallow interaction. You crave conversations that go beneath the surface. Spaces where you don't have to compete with a screen or defend your worth. You want to be where someone truly listens, not just waits for their turn to talk. And until you find that, silence feels safer. If you've ever felt unseen in a room full of people, comment number 4 below. You are not invisible here. Your story still matters. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I invite you to do that now. We're not just telling stories, we're building a community where your voice is finally heard. Let's keep going, because the next reason is one many seniors carry silently. That growing fear of becoming a burden. Number 4, the fear of being a burden. It's one of the hardest feelings to admit out loud. You don't want to be in the way. You don't want to be a hassle. You don't want the people you love to rearrange their lives just for you. And so, without saying anything, you begin to step back. That's what happened to Herbert, an 84-year-old widower who used to spend every Sunday at his daughter's house. As his mobility declined, his visits became less frequent. Not because he didn't want to be there, but because he started feeling like an obligation. I don't want to be a disruption, he said quietly. They've got work, kids, their own lives. I don't want them feeling guilty every time I show up. And so he stayed home, even when invited. He told no one how much he missed the laughter, the chaos, the Sunday roast. He just smiled politely and said, "I'm fine, sweetheart. You go enjoy." This is a fear many older adults carry, not the fear of being alone, but the fear of being too much. You decline help even when you need it. You keep quiet about your struggles, even when they're serious. You pretend to be stronger than you feel, not out of pride, but out of love. You've spent a lifetime being the strong one, the helper, the one people leaned on. And now, needing support feels unfamiliar, maybe even shameful. But here's the thing, that instinct to stay silent, to stay away, it doesn't make you strong, it makes you human. Because at the heart of that fear is something tender, the desire to be loved freely, not out of obligation. And yet, over time, the more you fear being a burden, the more isolated you become. Not because people are pushing you away, but because you're pulling back first. Psychologists refer to this as protective withdrawal, when someone removes themselves from relationships not because they don't care, but because they care too much. And while it may seem like the right thing to do, it often leads to the very thing you're trying to avoid: distance, misunderstanding, disconnection. Because the people who love you, most of them want to be there. They may not always know how to show it. They may not always get it right. But they aren't counting your needs against you the way you are. If this speaks to you, if you've ever held back just to avoid being a bother, comment number 5 below. Your presence is not a burden. Your voice is not a weight. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. Because the next reason? It's something we don't talk about nearly enough, how old friendships don't always last, and why that's okay. Let's keep going. Number 5, the quiet fading of old relationships. Some friendships don't end in a blowout. There's no big fight, no final words, no doors slammed. They just fade. Slowly, quietly, and almost invisibly. That's what happened to Victoria, 73, who used to take weekly walks with her best friend from high school. They'd stroll through the neighborhood, share memories, complain about aching knees, and laugh about grandkids' antics. Then the walks turned into monthly catch-ups. Then once a year. Then nothing. No harsh words. No explanation. Just silence. When I asked if they had a falling out, Victoria shook her head gently and said, "No, we still care about each other. I think we've just said everything we needed to say." It's a type of grief many people don't talk about, the loss of closeness, not to death or distance, but to time. Life simply pulls people in different directions. Priorities shift. Health changes. Schedules fill. Energy dwindles. And before you even notice, you look around and realize the people who once filled your days are no longer part of your routine. There's a sadness to it, a quiet ache. Not sharp like heartbreak, but dull, like something missing from the background music of your life. You miss the laughter, the familiarity, the sense of being known without explanation. And even though no one hurt you, it still hurts. But here's the strange beauty in it. Sometimes the distance isn't a loss, it's a sign of growth. You've changed. They've changed. The connection that once made sense in one season of life may no longer fit in the season you're in now. This happens a lot in later years. Friendships built around raising children, working together, or sharing hobbies often fade once those circumstances change. And that's okay. It doesn't mean the bond wasn't real. It just means it ran its course. And in that space, you begin to choose differently. You no longer say yes out of habit. You no longer maintain connections just to avoid awkwardness. You begin to honor your time, your peace, your energy. Letting go of old relationships doesn't mean you've become cold or distant. It means you've become more intentional. You've started asking, does this relationship still nourish me? And sometimes the honest answer is no. Speech balloon if you've experienced a friendship that faded without conflict. Comment number 6 below. It's more common than people admit, and it doesn't make you a bad friend. It makes you a human being in transition. If you haven't subscribed yet, this is your invitation. Because the final reason we'll explore, the one we're heading into now, is perhaps the most surprising of all. The realization that being alone doesn't mean being lonely, it can mean finally being at peace. Number 6. The joy of being on your own. It takes a lifetime to finally realize your own company can be enough. For decades, we are surrounded by noise. Voices from coworkers, neighbors, children, spouses. Always someone needing something. Always somewhere to be. Always something to manage, solve, or hold together. And then slowly, things change. Children grow up. Social calendars quiet down. The phone rings less often. At first, it can feel jarring, like something's missing. But over time, if you let it, that space becomes something sacred. That's exactly what James, 82, discovered. He used to be what people called the social glue. His house was always the gathering spot. He'd fire up the grill, pour the drinks, keep everyone laughing. But now, his favorite part of the day is early morning, sitting on his porch with a cup of black coffee, watching birds. No one talking. No one needing anything. Just the sky, the breeze, and the sound of his own breathing. When someone asked if he felt lonely, he smiled and said, "I've got enough stories in my head to keep me company for the rest of my life." You see, we spend much of our lives trying to prove we're worth something, through connection, through busyness, through being needed. But when you finally stop chasing that and find peace in your own presence, that's freedom. This joy isn't the absence of people. It's the presence of self. It's waking up without pressure. It's choosing how you spend your hours, your thoughts, your heart. To others, this new quiet might look like withdrawal. They may worry. They may wonder if you're sad. But what they often don't realize is this: we've spent a lifetime giving to others. Solitude becomes where you reclaim yourself. Solitude doesn't mean you're empty. It means you've stopped needing to fill every silence. It means you've stopped waiting for validation. It means you've made peace with who you are, and you no longer apologize for protecting that peace. This kind of contentment doesn't always come easily, but when it arrives, it's profound. You walk at your own pace. You do what feels right. You speak when it matters. And in the stillness, you discover something rare. You are enough. You've always been enough. If this final truth speaks to your soul, comment number 7 below. Let us know how solitude has changed for you with time. And if you haven't subscribed yet, this is your moment. Because this space is for you, for the quiet ones, the wise ones, the ones who are finally learning to belong to themselves. Let's bring it all home with a few final thoughts. So, which part of this journey felt the most personal to you? Was it the quiet weight of old betrayals? The craving for deeper conversations? The ache of not being understood by those you love most? Or maybe it was the fear, that unspoken fear, of becoming someone else's responsibility. Maybe it was the slow disappearance of people you once called friends. Or maybe, just maybe, it was that last one, the unexpected peace you found in being alone. Whatever reason stirred your heart today, I hope you now see something clearly. You are not strange for pulling away. You're not broken for needing space. And you're certainly not failing because your world has grown quieter. You are transforming. You've lived long enough to understand the value of peace, the importance of protecting your energy, the sacredness of your time. What once felt like social withdrawal is actually emotional wisdom. What once looked like distance is now discernment. So many of us, especially in our 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond, carry quiet stories like these. And yet, we're often made to feel like we should apologize for our solitude, as if the only valid life is the loud one, the busy one, the crowded one. But here's the truth. There's power in your pause. There's freedom in saying no. And there's beauty in choosing peace over performance. You haven't lost your place in the world. You've reclaimed it. You're not hiding. You're healing. You're not giving up. You're growing into yourself. And if you're still here, still watching, still reading this, then something in you needed to hear it. Something in you already knows it's okay to live slower, quieter, deeper. Please tell us below, what's the one insight you're walking away with today? Comment it down, even if it's just a sentence. We read every reply, and it helps others know they're not alone either. And if you haven't already, subscribe now and turn on the bell. This channel isn't just about advice, it's a space for you, for your thoughts, for your stories, for your voice, which still matters more than you know. Because here, we believe solitude is not emptiness, it's full of meaning. Here, we believe slowing down is not weakness, it's wisdom. And here, we know that growing older doesn't mean fading away. It means rising into a clearer, calmer version of yourself. Thank you for spending this time with me. Your presence here means something. Truly. Until next time, walk gently, breathe deeply, and honor where you are. We'll see you in the next video.